Good afternoon, I'm Malcolm Jordan and this is your midday news fix for Wednesday the 5th of March. Deepening divisions between the US and other Western countries over Ukraine and now trade. The US president has slapped a 25% tariff on all Canadian and Mexican imports and 20% on some from China. Canada's responded by imposing the same amount back, which Donald Trump says he'll match again. Former Trade Minister and Ambassador to the US, Tim Grosser, told Kerry Woodham countries like Canada are fighting the US on trade while trying to form closer security ties.
How do you marry those two strategies? Because they are inherently in conflict one with the other. You can't trade war with somebody you want to curry favour with.
A security analyst says it'll still take a lot to convince Ukraine to sign a ceasefire despite the US pausing military aid. Ukraine's president says he regrets a fiery White House meeting with Donald Trump. Volodymyr Zelensky says he's ready to sign a minerals deal with the US and work on a strong final peace deal. Kyiv-based security analyst Jimmy Rushton says it'd be tough, but Ukraine could manage without the US. He says his recent trip to Ukraine's front line shows that the war is not one-sided.
Their morale is very, very high. They're inflicting severe casualties on the Russians, and they're even making advances in some places along the front.
Meanwhile, the US Vice President is furiously backpedalling over comments thought to refer to the UK and France. JD Vance said a US stake in Ukraine's economy is a better security guarantee than 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years. Correspondent Gavin Gray says he denies that was targeted.
He said, no, I didn't even mention the UK or France, adding they both had fought bravely alongside the US over the last 20 years and beyond.
The government's announcing plans for further nurse practitioners specialising in primary care. It'll put $34.2 million over 5 years to fund 120 trainee places from 2026. Health Minister Simeon Brown says it'll ease pressure on doctors.
This is a highly skilled workforce that can diagnose conditions, prescribe medicines and develop treatment plans, and we want to support more of them into GP clinics.
The Foreign Minister hasn't spoken with the Cook Islands Prime Minister since Mark Brown signed agreements in Beijing. Winston Peters and our Prime Minister criticised the lack of information given to New Zealand, which has official associations. Peters says he's still yet to hear from Brown.
I've set out very, very clearly in correspondence what we are bound constitutionally by the 2001 agreement, what we're required to know. It's difficult, but we've just set it out and we're just waiting for an answer.
The Principals Federation says the Prime Minister's out of touch with current inequities, with 1 in 4 children now living in poverty. Chris Luxon said parents should just give children a sandwich and an apple for lunch. To sport, a welcome sight for Warriors fans after a defeat to start the NRL League season. Centre Rocco Berry has recovered from shoulder nerve damage, having last played in June. Arsenal have trounced to PSV Eindhoven 7-1 in the opening leg to move onto the cusp of a Champions League football quarter-final spot. NBA basketball all-star Kyrie Irving has a torn ACL in his left knee, so will miss the rest of the season. I'm Malcolm Jordan, that's your latest news fix. We'll be back with the next update at 5 p.m. from the Newstalk ZB newsroom.